Ambassador, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ivan. It's great to be here with you today.
We have just celebrated 33 years of independence. We have new government, new oppositions, a lot of expectations. How do you see the current situation in the country?
Well, as you know, Ivan, I was here before, more than 10 years ago at the embassy here in Skopje. So I have a little bit of perspective to look at those 33 years. And first of all, congratulations on 33 years of independence. I have to say that North Macedonia has come a long way in 33 years. Its citizens have many, many things to be proud of, quite frankly, and a lot of progress has been made in those 33 years. But I would also suggest, as a friend of this country, that there still remains a great deal to be done. There is a new government. I believe that the members of that government, the Prime Minister, the ministers, understand very well that progress must continue to be made on many fronts, because that's what the people of this country elected them to do. And so I think it's critically important that they keep their eye on those specific goals. But let me also say that one thing that makes me very happy, and I was very much feeling this way on the 8th during Independence Day, was the fact that this country is in NATO. That is a huge accomplishment and is not only a member of NATO, but frankly a deeply valued ally within the organization, and that's one thing to be very proud of.
Yes, we are a NATO member, but we are still speaking about destabilization of the country.
Well, yesterday was September 11th, and as Americans, but frankly people of democracies around the world, we are reminded that there are those in this world who would wish us harm. We saw that 23 years ago in New York and in Pennsylvania, that there are those who wish us ill, and it brings into very sharp focus the fact that destabilization, that danger from outside forces, we need look no further than Ukraine and Russia's horrible, illegal, brutal invasion there, that there are those who, again, do not wish the best for democracy. So it is incumbent on all of us, it is all of our duties to do what we can to support those measures and those reforms that will bring and will strengthen stabilization, not just here in this country, around the region and across the world.
Speaking of what people are expecting, we know that research of the public opinion are not very frequent after the elections, but I was watching the last poll of IRI. It says, what is the most important problem that is currently facing the country? This was published in May. Among the top is the corruption, second place. And the question, what specific issue should be the top priority of the government to address? On the top, again, we have the corruption. And this is in the all years, if we look back in the public polls. Is there any solution for the corruptions?
What a great question. If you have the answer, please let me know. I would love to hear it. It's true that everywhere that I travel in this country, I hear the frustration of the citizens of this country with the level of corruption. And you know, we talk about it a great deal in terms of the judiciary. It is not limited, as you know very well and as your viewers know, it is not limited to the judiciary. It's in almost every aspect of life here. It's in education, it's in the health sector. It affects people every day. And I think that it is all tied into what I know to be another major concern of the citizens of North Macedonia, and that's the economy and the strength of the economy, because that represents also opportunity. And as we see more young people leaving this wonderful country, we have to also ask the question of what can be done to strengthen the economy, which then offers opportunities for young people and older people alike. And so all of these are connected, because corruption truly is a cancer within this society, and it affects all aspects and every sector of life here. and it needs to be combated and it needs to be looked at very seriously.
The new government is probably speaking about the reforms in the judiciary. As we have heard from the Prime Minister, he's speaking about the dissolution of the top judicial bodies like Judicial Council and Council of the Public Prosecutors. He have asked you, as the Ambassador of the United States and previous Ambassador of the European Union, after your statement, to give suggestions how to be these reforms to be done. Have you spoke recently with the Prime Minister on this topic?
I got back from the United States about 2.5-3 weeks ago, and I have not spoken to him since I have been back. I not in person, and I look forward to doing so, but I am in touch with him regularly, as I am with his ministers, and we have spoken before August about the thoughts for reforming the Judicial Council and other aspects of the judiciary, whether it means dismantling it completely. And what I have said and what Ambassador Geer, the former EU ambassador, said was there is a roadmap. The European Union sent experts here to look at how the Judicial Council and other aspects of the judiciary might be reformed. So they have suggestions, they have made recommendations, and I know that the Prime Minister is certainly looking at those. These are decisions, and as I have said privately and publicly, these are not decisions to be made quickly. They are decisions to be considered carefully. It's very important to consider what the implications and results of these decisions are, and then to move forward in a cautious and thoughtful way.
There was a statement of the Prime Minister that he thinks that ambassadors are interfering in the internal affairs, speaking about the reforms in the judiciary and the fight against the corruption. How do you see? Do you see that you interfere in the internal affairs of Macedonia?
It's very much my hope that he wasn't referring to me, but even if he was, my responsibility and my duties here as the U.S. ambassador to North Macedonia is to work together with the government and other officials and business and the citizens to help achieve not only U.S. strategic goals, but your goals. This is something that we speak of all of the time with the government and those outside of the government, of how can the United States support you on your path to Euro-Atlantic integration, to European Union integration, to greater stability, security, economic strength, as we have discussed, and I'll continue to do that. I do not tell anybody what to do. I am not Macedonian, and I will vote in my own elections. I didn't, have anything to do with yours. But these are things that are not only important to the United States, they're important to me as someone who considers herself a friend of this country, and I'll continue to do what I can.
Ambassador, you have established as a matter of help, as the United States, this famously known as a blacklist for corrupted politicians and businessmen. What is happening with this list? Is it still open?
It's alive and well. I can promise you that. It is, in fact, I just had conversations with colleagues in Washington. It's a very dynamic conversation and list of names. There are a number of cases being considered. That is always the case, and as they developed, then Washington lets us know. There are, as I said, and as I have said before, these cases are required by U.S. law for us to pursue. When we are aware of criminal corruption, we are required by U.S. law to pursue those and then to designate individuals that we find to be guilty of that. It's a very strenuous legal process, but I can assure you that that process is certainly ongoing. I'm not sure when the next name or names will be announced, but I can tell you that there are certainly a number under consideration.
We expect to see what will happen in the future with this list, but this summer we have also celebrated 75 years of NATO.
Yes.
How confident partner is Macedonia in NATO?
You know, I am deeply pleased that one of the first trips that the Prime Minister, the Minister of Defense, and a number of the other key ministers made was to Washington, D.C. for the 75th NATO Summit. Their presence was important. It was noted. They met with the highest levels of our U.S. government. The Prime Minister met with the President. The Foreign Minister met with Secretary Blinken. And I know that the Minister of Defense saw Secretary Austin and many other senior officials. That was, for me, a great message from the new government that this alliance is strong and growing stronger. And frankly, Russia's aggression has deepened those ties and strengthened the resolve that we have always seen in NATO. And I welcome the discussions that I have had, again, with both the Prime Minister and the Minister of Defense, of their continuing commitment to NATO, of continuing to meet the 2%, because as you know, Ivan, this country was the fourth highest per capita donor of military assistance to Ukraine. And for a country this small to be ranked fourth is really a testament to the commitment that the people of this country have to NATO as well.
But speaking about the NATO standards, we had a few weeks ago signing of an agreement with the Hungarian telecommunication operator 4iG, and it's supposed that this company 4iG had an agreement with Chinese company. This has something with the Macedonian law, but how is this problem with NATO standards?
I'm aware that there was the signing. As you also know, in 2020, we signed with the then government of this country an agreement on safe and secure networks as in 5G. And business deals, I frankly haven't seen it, and it's not something that I would. But what is critically important is that the networks that people use and trust for all of their data are safe, that they are protected. This is a conversation that, frankly, I have had and my colleagues at the embassy with the new Minister for Digital Transformation, Minister Andonovski. He's in the U.S. right now. I also think that bears testament to the strength of this cooperation, and we'll continue to provide those support and have those conversations.
You have mentioned the EU perspective of the country, but it looks that we are currently stuck in this process. Tomorrow it will happen, a meeting between the President Siljanovska and President of Bulgaria, Radev. How do you expect to go this process going into the European Union?
You know, I was in Thessaloniki a week ago, and I was there not to talk about the European Union, though of course it always comes up in this context, to talk about energy cooperation and also to talk about economic collaboration and security across the region. And I am continuously struck that, and first of all, let me say, I think it's fantastic that the President is going to Bulgaria at the invitation of President Radev. These ties within the region are very, very important because they're neighbors. And the stronger the relationship between the neighbors, this is true for the United States as it is with North Macedonia, the more secure, prosperous, and stable all of the countries can be. And this came up continuously in my conversations and on panels in Thessaloniki as well, with the relationship with Greece. The more that these countries, that you all can cooperate together as neighbors, the greater prosperity for all of the citizens of the region. And there are so many opportunities, and many of those are cultural. But there's also the gas interconnector, for example. There's also many other types of energy, trade, and collaboration that will be so important in these relationships, and then I believe the rest will follow.
But the government these days has appointed new members in the Historical Commission with Bulgaria. Do you think that this can help to go forward in the relations with our neighbor?
You know, I'm aware of these, the new names that have been proposed. To be very candid, I haven't followed that very closely because I was away. I think one of the things that I have discussed with the previous government and now with this new government is that history is critically important. It has defined us, all of us. Our history as countries have brought us to where we are today. And not only is it important to talk about the history, and I know this is part of bilateral and international agreements, but also, and equally important, is to talk about the future. And so it is my fondest hope that as we're talking about the shared history that North Macedonia has with its neighbors, and specifically with Bulgaria, they're also talking about that's great, and how are we going to move forward on transportation, on energy, on shared education and exchange. So I hope that as they're having these looks, they are looking not only to the past, but also looking forward to the future.
Just at the end, I must ask you about the elections in the United States. You have presidential elections. What after the election? Can we expect some change in the policy for Macedonia from the United States? What will happen?
Well, I wish I knew, but as with all things, democracies have an interesting way of playing out, as do elections. And as a very dear friend of mine, another ambassador in the region, said, you never know until election day what the results are going to be. So I will watch with great interest. I will vote, of course. I send in my absentee ballot. But the one thing that I can assure you, and you can look to the 33 years since this country has been independent and before then, that the United States will remain a stalwart friend and partner and ally, that we will be here to support you the day before the election and the day after and for years to come after that, because our policies in terms of international relations and our policies to this country and our friendship and support will not change. That will remain steadfast, and I can promise you that as long as I am here as ambassador, that we will give everything we can to help support those programs that we have worked so hard on ever since independence.
Ambassador, thank you for this interview.
Thanks so much, Ivan.